Hello and I welcome you all to our sixth video on the Placement Connect YouTube channel. Today we are bringing you close to something which is very important and interesting, that is the top 20 most frequently asked core Java interview questions and answers that has been asked and which has been repeated in most of the IT MNC companies. So do watch this video until the very end to unlock all the questions and answers in this video. So let's begin with our first slide. But before that, if you haven't still subscribed to our channel, I request you to kindly subscribe to our channel. That is because we take a lot of our time to research all these technical contents, and henceforth we try to bring it in front of you because we want you to be the most successful candidate when you're sitting for your first interview or the next. So our first program is write a piece of Java code to print the Fibonacci series. So what I've done is I've named my class to be as Fibonacci. You can name anything for your instance. You can name Fibonacci series, be it whatever. So what I've done is I've initialized f of 0 to be as 0 and f of 1 to be as 1. Next, I have incremented the for loop over there, and I am going with the general trend of the Fibonacci series formula, which is f of 1 equals f of I minus 1 plus f of I minus 2. Then what I have done is I have declared my main function, that is the public static void main string into arguments. Then I have given my count to be as 9. Then you can close the function. Now let us move straight to the demonstration and the output. So just going by the general trend of the Fibonacci series formula, we have f of n equals f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2, where I have initialized f0 to 0 and f1 is equal to 1. So here I have taken an array of size 10. So you can see at the left side of my demonstration that a plus b will gives rise to c, that is 0 plus 1 will give rise to 1. Now what you should do is you have to consider the bth position again to be as a. Now again that will give rise to another c, that is 1 plus 1 will be equal to 2. Thus what we can say by this instance is Fibonacci series is a result of a sum, or which is generated usually by an instance or a club of previous two sums. That is, if you add 0 plus 1, you will get 1. If you add 1 plus 1, you will get 2. So now let's look at the output. So as you can see, I've taken two examples, one input to be as 2 and one more input to be as 9. So the resultant product is a sum of previous two instances. So we have our next piece of Java code to be as to find the duplicate number in an array. So I've named my class to be as find duplicate. So the first function under this duplicate function is my void print repeating, where I've taken array and array size to be as my integers. So in system.out.println, I am repeating the elements that are to be printed and initialized my I, which I have declared before in a for loop. So as you can see, there is an if statement and an else statement. You can look at the logical part of the function over here, which is responsible for removing the duplicate elements in an array. And in my main function, I am taking an array of size as such as this. And when you close the function, you can execute the program. So now let me take one simple example. I've taken 1, 2, 3, 4 and 3. Not as the usual elements in the code. You can also take that to be as example while you're executing. Just for your reference, I've taken this. So as you can see, 3 is repeated more than once in this array, which means that is the actual element that is to be sorted out from this array, and that which is the duplicate element. So the third question is write a piece of Java code to find the second largest element in an array, or the highest second largest element in an array, whatever you want it to be called it as. So I've named my class to be as second largest element in an array, likewise the question. So in my main function, I've taken the array elements to be as 1, 25, 6, 16 and 10. You can take it whatever you want. Here the logic is, like you can observe in the system.out.println, the logic here is array.length minus 2. This is the logic you need to have in your mind before trying to execute this program. So now let us move on to the output part of this program. So likewise, as you can see, I have taken 6 elements over here, that is 12, 35, 1, 10, 34 and 1. 35 being the highest element in this array and 34 being the second largest element in this array. So when you sort it out, 34 will be the output. So coming to our fourth program, we have write a piece of Java code to find the factorial of a number. Now notice, this is the question that has been asked in most number of core Java interviews, and most of the companies find this as to be the hotmost question while trying to give some programs to write or to execute. So I have named my class to be as fact over here, and in the main function, that is the public static void main, I have given my count to be as n equals to 6, and what is that is to be memorized and noticed is that fact is equal to fact into I. This is the logic that you have to keep in your mind in order to execute this program. Now let us just look at the output part of this program. So I have taken 5 factorial to be as my example. So 5 factorial in general is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 factorial, that will give rise to 120. Now coming to the practical demonstration of the factorial program, I have taken 6 factorial here. So what is need to be memorized here is the formula of the factorial, that is n factorial is equal to n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 into n minus 3 up to the n terms. Now one thing is stored in the reverse order and one more is stored in the upwise straight order. Both of them I have shown it in the pic. So we can represent it as fact is equal to fact into 1. Initially you can take 1. Now you can multiply that same 1 with the 2, and 2 will be stored again in the fact. So 2 into 3 is 6. So 6 again will be multiplied by 4, and this is how you do the program. So until the 6th term, when you keep storing the value of the previously accounted terms, you will get something like print of fact is equal to 720. That in general can be represented as fact is equal to fact into I. Okay. Now moving on to our 5th code, which is write a piece of Java code to find whether the given number is a prime or not. Here again I have named my class to be as prime. You can take anything if you want to. Again in the main function, what is to be memorized here is 2 logics, that is if of n percentage I equals to 0, and consider that prime to be as false initially. So these are the 2 logics that you have to keep in mind before trying to execute this program. Now let's just quickly move on to the output part of this program. Well, there you go, as the output has now just popped up. So in general, a prime number is something which has no positive divisors other than the 1 or the number itself. So here, as you can see, I have taken my inputs to be as 11, 15 and 1, out of which only 11 is a prime number and 15 and 1 aren't a prime number. Like I said before, this is the demonstration. A prime number should either be divisible by 1 or the number itself. So if I have taken 2 examples over here, one is 9 and 13. So if I take an accountance from 1 to 9, 9 is divisible by 3. So I can say that it is false. So I've taken 13 in the second example, which means that from the series of 1 to 13 or in the midst of 2 to 12, it is neither divisible by any of the numbers. So by this accountance, I can say that 13 is not divisible by any of the numbers from 1 to 13, and which is true and prime. So moving on to our 6th program, we have write a piece of Java code to perform swap of 2 numbers without using a temporary variable. So again here I have named my class to be as swap multiplication demo, and I have performed 2 operations over here, and in the first function I have taken integer a to be as 10 and integer b value to be as 20, and I have performed the swap operation by taking swap of a comma b. And in the second function, I am performing 3 of the important most logical operations for this swap a number program, that is a is equal to a star b, b is equal to a by b and a is equal to a by b. So before and after swapping with these 2 functions, you will be able to get the output such as this. So now let us move on to the output part of this particular program. And now that you can see that the output has just now popped up, initially I have not shown it here, but I have taken a to be as 5 and b to be as 10. So this is something that the output which is coming after the operation has been performed. So after swapping, this is how the result will turn out to be, that is a equal to 10 from b equal to 5 from the previous initial result. Okay, now let's just move on to the demonstration part of the program. So here I have taken 2 examples, that is 10 and 20 and 30 and 40. So 10 and 20 output will be 20 and 10, and 30 and 40 will be 40 and 30 after the swap operation has been performed. Now in the logical explanation of the program, Initially I've taken a and b to be as 10 and 20 values respectively. So first operation is I'll take expression a equal to a into b. This is my first mathematical operation that I'm going to perform. So initially 10 into 20 will give rise to 200 as my initial value. Now performing my second operation, that is b equal to a by b. I've already got the a value to be as 200. So 200 by 20 will be 10. So my b value now is 10. Moving on further, I have my third operation to be as a is equal to a by b. That is a value is 200 and b value is 10 simultaneously. So 200 by 10, that is a by b in a is equal to a by b will give rise to 20. Now you can notice that from a and b value, the values have been interchanged. Okay, now we have the seventh piece of Java code to be divided into two subclauses. The first subclause is reverse of a number or reverse digits in number, and the second subclause is reverse of an array simultaneously. So coming to the first subclause question, that is reverse of a number. So here I have named my class to be as reverse number demo, and in my public static void main function I have created an object named scanner, that is scanner sc is equal to new scanner of system.in. Then you enter the number that is to be reversed. Now the logic that you need to memorize in this particular program is int digit is equal to n percentage 10, reverse is equal to reverse into 10 plus digit, and n is equal to n by 10. And finally in the final SOP statement, that is system.out.println statement, you can finally reverse the number by using reverse number is equal to plus of reverse. This will perform the reverse of your number entered. So moving on to the demonstration part of the program, I've taken my example to be as 1, 2, 3. Upon performing that operation as I explained the logic previously in the program, you will be getting the output to be as 3, 2, 1. So the steps I have explained it, I have written it handwritten in five steps, 5 pointers. So what you can do is you can just pause the video, take the screenshot of this particular program so that you will be able to understand the program better when you try to execute in the Eclipse software. So moving to the subclass B in our 7th program, that is reverse of an array. This program is quite similar to the program what we actually saw before. But the only thing that one needs to notice here is you are reversing an array instead of a particular number digit by digit. Here you are reversing the whole array. Okay, now heading straight towards the program. Here I have named my class to be as reversing array, and the two important logics that or the functional logics that one need to memorize or remember here is, that is collections dot reverse of arrays dot as list of a and system dot out dot println of arrays dot as list of a. Two functions or the two logical functions that you have to keep in your mind before executing your program. So I have taken 5 elements in my integer array, that is 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. Now let's head straight towards the output part of this program. So the same set of array elements, when reversed, the output will be 50, 40, 30, 20 and 10. So this is how the output stands. Now moving on to the 8th piece of Java code, we have a Java code to find the sum of digits of a number. So as you can see, I have named my class to be as sum digits, and in the public static void main of string into arguments, I have taken my integer numbers to be as 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I have initialized sum and integer digit to 0 while number is greater than 0. So the logical part or the logical functionalities that one has to remember or keep in mind is digit is equal to num percentage 10, sum is equal to sum plus digit, and num is equal to num divided by 10. So last one is the SOP statement. So these are the 3 main logics that you have to keep in mind before trying to execute this program. And now let's head straight towards the output part of this particular program. So as you can see, I have taken 2 set of examples in my output part, that is n is equal to 687 and n is equal to 12. See, upon adding 6 plus 8 plus 7, you'll get the answer to be as 21, and upon adding 1 plus 2, you will be getting 3. So how to do this, we'll look at the demonstration part of this particular program. Now I've taken the first set of example, that is 123. I have separated them and summed it up. That is 1 plus 2 plus 3 is equal to 6. So what I've done is I've taken the mod of all those digits step by step. That is 123 percentage 10 will give you 12. here at the left part of my working, you can see how I have actually arrived at this equation. That is, we are only interested in looking at the quotient and the remainder part. See here, 123 divided by 10. So the quotient is 12 and the remainder is 3. So I'll take the 3 over there. Now again, I'll take the quotient of the first this thing and I'll again divide it by 10. Now what is the remainder we got? We got 2. So again you have 3 plus 2. Like that again, if you take that one more this thing, that is 10 divided by 1, I'll get the remainder to be as 1. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. So as you can see in the right part of the example, I have taken one more example, that is 456. That is 4 plus 5 plus 6 will give rise to 15. So what I have done is I have divided 456 by 10, where I have the quotient to be as 45 and the remainder to be as 6. So I'll shift 6 over up and I'll be dividing 45 again by 10, which will give me the remainder to be as 5. And again, the 4 quotient I have taken, the remainder will be 4. When you sum it up, you will get one whole equation to be as, one whole sum to be as 4 plus 5 plus 6. That will give rise to 15. So this is about the demonstration of sum of digits of a number. So this is our 9th program in the set of sequence of series. So this is write a piece of Java code to find the average marks and percentage of a particular record. This is a very interesting, tricky and very important question that if you practice in Eclipse, you will be able to get the logic of it on the whole. So here I have named my class to be as semester, and in the public static void main of string into arguments. So what is the main thing that you need to grasp or remember in this program is, I've also created a scanner object, that is scanner sc is equal to new scanner of system.in. That is what you need to grasp here is the formula pertaining to total, average and percentage. The total will be calculated as m1 plus m2 plus m3, because I have taken the data of 3 inputs, and average will be total divided by the number of data entries that you have taken. So the percentage formula is also one important thing. So how to calculate, that is per is equal to total divided by 300 into 100. So if you keep these aspects in mind, you will be able to execute this program more easily. Now let's just look at the output part of this program. So here I have taken the data of 3 input subjects, that is 40, 45 and 50. So the total marks displayed is 135, average is 45 and percentage is also 45. So this is also one of the most important programs. So what I can suggest you is, you can stop the video, take the screenshot of this particular program and try to modify and add your own inputs to this particular program. So moving on further to our next program, and which is the 10th program. So we have write a piece of Java code which says pattern matching using inbuilt method in Java. So in this program, I've taken my class to be as pattern matching, and in public static void main of string into arguments, the text of the string that I've taken is my own name. So the pattern that you have to give it in a very conventional way or unconventional way. I've given it in a more conventional way. So the logical aspects that one needs to remember while executing this program is boolean result is equal to text dot contains of pattern and if of result. So 2 SOP statements over here, 2 SOP else statement, let me put it that way. So now let's move on to the output part of the program. Okay, now we have the output popped up. So as you can see, I've taken a different example from what I've shown you in the program. That is BA, A, triple AB and AB. So if there is a pattern matching, it will be shown to be as true, and if there isn't a pattern, it will be shown as false. Likewise, in the program that I've shown, I've taken my own name, that is Vishwas. To sum it on the whole, ISH is the same thing, that is being matching in my name. So that will also be true in this case. So this was all about the first set of 10 core Java interview questions from my side. The next 10 set of questions will be handled by my colleague Kanasu. So please do watch out for that.
The most frequently asked question in a Java interview is, what is a singleton class in Java and how can we make a class singleton? Singleton class is a class whose only one instance can be created at any given time in one Java virtual machine. No matter how many times it is called anywhere, it always returns the instance initially created by that class. Here we have a simple example of a singleton class where a single instance is associated with a null value and the constructor is made as a private. In if loop, the single instance is associated with a new object, but it always returns the single instance which is initially created by the class. The next question you can expect in the interview is a Java program to print the Pascal's triangle. This is the numerical pattern to print the Pascal's triangle, and you have to find the coefficients to print the above pattern. We all know to find the coefficient using the formula NCR is equal to n factorial by r factorial into n minus r factorial. In this program, the class pattern is declared as public and the first for loop with integer I is equal to 0 is written for the number of rows. The second for loop is written for the space in between the numericals, and the formula space is less than row minus I reduces the number of spaces in between the numericals. In the output statement, we will not write println because we are not printing the new lines. Instead, we are printing the single row spaces. The next for loop with integer j is equal to 0 is written for the number of terms, and the coefficient is calculated using the formula coefficient into I minus j plus 1 divided by j. The next question we come across is how can I make a class immutable? There are several ways to make a class immutable in Java. Declaring the class as final so that it cannot be extended. Making all the fields private instead of public so that direct access is not allowed. Make all the mutable fields final so that its value can't be assigned only once. And performing the cloning of objects in the getter methods to return a copy rather than returning the actual object reference can make a class immutable. This is the most basic question we come across in the interview. What is the difference between hash set and hash map? Hash set contains only values, whereas hash map contains the entry which consists of both keys and values. Hash set can be iterated, but hash map need to be converted into set to be iterated. Hash set does not allow duplicate elements. That means you cannot store duplicate values in the hash set, and it also permits to have a single null value. Whereas hash map does not allow duplicate keys, but we can have duplicate values, and it also permits both single null key and any number of null values. In any Java interview, it is common that you will be asked to write a program to print pyramid using numbers. You may be asked to write a program for a pyramid using numbers or pyramid using stars, or inverted pyramid for numbers and inverted pyramid for stars. So it is necessary for you to be prepared to write a program for any kind of pyramid pattern. This pyramid pattern was asked in the TCS interview last year. Here, we declare the number of rows required along with the count value which is initialized to 0, and the count1 value is also initialized to 0. In while loop, if the count value is less than rows minus 1, the output will be displayed along with the I plus key, which means that the loop will jump to the next column along with the spaces. In the last stage, the count value is initialized to 0 along with the column value, and the output will be displayed. The next question is, what does the hashcode method do? The hashcode method returns a hashcode value which is an integer number. The hashcode method returns the same integer number if two keys, which is by calling the equals method, are same. But it is possible that two hashcode numbers can have different or same keys. Next we have the question to write a Java program to print the sum of positive numbers only using while loop. This question is asked to every candidate who attends the interview to check his basic knowledge on the Java program and the looping constructs. In this program, we are initializing the sum value is equal to 0, and we are taking the input for a number using the scanner statement. In the while loop, we have number is greater than or equal to 0, then sum plus is equal to number. The while loop continues until the user enters a negative number. During each iteration, the number entered by the user is added to the sum variable. When the user enters a negative number, the loop terminates. Finally, the total sum is displayed. The next important question is to write a Java program to display Fibonacci series using for loop. In any interview, you will be asked a question regarding the palindrome or factorial series or Fibonacci series. In this program, the first and the second terms are initialized to the first two terms of the Fibonacci series 0 and 1 respectively. Then, for loop iterates to n being the number of terms, displaying the sum of the previous two terms stored in the variable t1, and the output is displayed. We have a next question to write a Java program to calculate standard deviation. This question was asked in the TCS interview last year and Accenture interview this year. We all know the basic formula to calculate standard deviation, and in the next slide, we'll write a Java program. In this program, we are using functions like math.power and math.square-root functions to calculate the standard deviation. We are initializing the array values from 1 to 10 and calling the function calculate st of num array to find the standard deviation. Later, we are initializing the sum value to 0 and standard deviation value to 0. We need to know the length of the array, so we are declaring the length value as num array.length. Then we calculate the mean value, which is given by sum divided by length. The standard deviation is calculated using the formula math.power of number minus mean. Now, the math.square-root function is calculated by standard deviation divided by length, and the value is returned displaying the output. Next, we have the concept of Java exception handling. This is the most important concept in Java, and sometimes you may be asked to write a program based on exception handling. Many a times we come across programs where exceptions are thrown, disrupting the normal flow of the program. Hence, exception handling is a mechanism to handle runtime errors such as IO exception, class not found exception, etc. Suppose you have a program of 10 statements and an exception occurs at statement number 5, then the rest of the program is not executed. You have to use keywords and perform exception handling to make the rest of the code displayable. We have the following keywords: try block, catch block, finally block, and throw block to handle the exceptions in Java. This program is an example of exception handling in Java. In this program, 100 by 0 raises an arithmetic exception, which is handled by a try-catch block, and later the rest of the code is executed. If you have any queries and feedbacks, then feel free to mail us at placecont20@gmail.com. And please do like, share and subscribe to our channel, because your one subscribe means a lot to us. One subscribe basically means one encouragement to bring you close to many useful and informative contents. Hit the bell icon to get constant notifications from our channel. Thank you.